Control what you can control and totally lose attachment to the rest of it. So what can you control? Well, you can control the relationships you create. You can control your ability to focus on that other person. You can control connecting people with one another. You can control continually building that friendship, relationship. You can control asking for the appointment. You can control asking for the order. You can control asking for referrals. You can control a whole lot of things. What you cannot control is the outcome. Now, this is where someone says, well, doesn't it take a lot of faith to think that when you constantly give value to others that it's going to come back to you? No, it takes more faith to think that you can be totally selfish and all about yourself and think that good things are going to come to you.
Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
So my guest today is Bob Burg. He's a guy I've looked up to for a few years since I read his book, The Go-Giver. I immediately, when I read your book, Bob, I immediately had all my kids listen to it too.
Oh, thank you, Marty.
Mostly just because it's such an easy listen. You know, the parable, the way it's a parable, and then just lays it all out there. So,
well, you know, John David Mann, who's my awesome co-author and really the guy who was the lead writer, storyteller, he's just brilliant. You know, we always say that when we hear from any dad or mom who has their kids listen, that's the best compliment we ever. Yeah. That's, you know, we've had people talk about, you know, they've had it as their family meetings, you know, they'll discuss the book. And those are just, you can't replace those compliments. You know?
Yeah. The only other book I've done that. Yeah. The only other book I've done it with is Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, that was a great, well, of course, sure. And you're an investment expert. So that was a great book. In fact, remember Class and Hill was the name of the, the company that Joe works for in The Go-Giver. And that's named after James Classen.
Okay.
And Napoleon Hill. You know,
I did not know that.
So it was just some of the things we put in there that, you know, were kind of fun. But yeah, John and I are both huge fans of Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah.
It was the first investment book I ever read, really.
Yeah, everyone should read it.
Yeah.
But tell me, Bob, though, you're into sales. You've written a lot of other books, but tell me, what was the motive behind this book, or what inspired The Go-Giver? Where did that come from?
Yeah, back in the 90s, early to mid 90s, I had my first book out. It was called Endless Referrals: Network Your Everyday Contacts into Sales. It was sort of one of the few books out there at the time on business networking. Now there's, of course, thousands of them, and they're all good. I mean, I learned from every one of them. But back then, it was one of like 3, right, that were out there. And it was basically a how-to guide on how to build the relationship. It was really written for entrepreneurs and salespeople who knew they had a great product or service, but didn't necessarily feel comfortable or confident in terms of going out into their local communities and building the kinds of relationships where people would want to do business with them directly and or refer them to others. So it was a how-to guide, step by step. It was my system, if you will. And I define a system as simply as the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles, the key being predictability, just like you teach your clients. You know, you do things a certain way, right? So that was that, and, you know, it sold very well. I was very fortunate. But I'd always thought, you know, I'd love to put the basic premise, which was that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Love to put that into a parable, because I'd always enjoyed reading parable. The first 2 parables I ever read were Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World and James Classen's Richest Man in Babylon, right? But then, you know, you had all those great, Dr. Spencer Johnson and Ken Blanchard with the 1 minute manager, 1 minute salesperson, 1 minute this and 1 minute that. And you've had people like Chris Widener and John Gordon and Andrea, Richard Fenton and Andrea Waltz. And what I love about parables is that they're stories, so they connect on a deeper kind of heart-to-heart level.
They get your emotions.
How-to book, and so I thought, you know, I'd love to do that, but I'm not a parable writer. I can tell a story from stage, but it's a true story, and a parable by nature is fiction,
Mhm.
right? So,
Mhm.
so I didn't really do anything with it. But back in, I guess, at the beginning of 2000, 2001 or so, I began writing a monthly column for a magazine, and the editor-in-chief was John David Matt.
Okay.
And yeah, even back then, he had a great reputation as being a wonderful author, storyteller, also a real
Mhm.
class guy, real high
Mhm.
character. And as we got to know each other, he's such a great editor, and I just such a great guy. I thought, I would love to have him do this with me. And,
Mm.
and he was the only one I even wanted to do this with. I didn't ask anybody else, and I asked him if he would be the lead writer and storyteller. He was very busy even at the time. But one day, he and his then fiance, now wife Anna, they were visiting her mom across the state in Tampa. They took a 4-hour drive to where I live in Jupiter. We had about a 3-hour dinner at a local restaurant talking about the book. Still took them 3 weeks to decide, and then finally he called me one day.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we got something here. Let's do this. So we wrote the book. And when I say we, I mean, again, John was the star here.
Yeah.
I'm the, but here's the thing: it took us a year and 24 rejections before the
Wow.
25th one said yes, and they turned, Portfolio, a division of Penguin Random House,
Yep.
said yes, and they turned out to be the best publishing partner ever.
Hmm.
So everything worked out as it was supposed to. But that's really how the book came about.
That's really cool. And you know, I feel like The Go-Giver is a yearly read for me, just
Oh, thank you.
because the principles are so applicable. And I think for me, one of the first times I remember reading Robert Kiyosaki's book, and he talked about uh, if you want to do well at life, just find more people to serve, which
Yeah, well, that's a
which
good point.
is the law of yeah, which is the law of compensation, right? Like just serve
Yeah,
more people.
yeah.
And so it's extremely applicable. A lot of times, we don't want to serve. We're selfish, and we think it's all about us, especially in the workplace. I feel like, and so I really feel like the message is so relevant, and I need it. I can be that selfish guy. So,
Well, we all can. It's human nature. We're all self-interested. That's how our
mhm.
cave person ancestors were able to survive and pass the genes on to the next generation and all that. So that's hardwired into us. But I think there are a couple of things about this as it deals with human nature and the
Mhm.
go-giver application. One is yes, people have their own self-interest at heart. And so I used to, when I spoke at sales conferences, I'm just about to be 67 and I'm not on the road traveling anymore. I'm not getting on another airplane if I can help it. But when I used to all the time be out there, I'd speak at sales conferences. And one of the first things that I would say, Marty, is nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet.
Sure.
Right? Nobody's going to buy from you because you have a sales goal or because you need the money or even just because you're a really nice human being. They're going to buy from you because they believe that ultimately they'll be better off by doing
Mhm.
so than by not doing so. Now, what this does is it says to the salesperson, great. Then what I need to do is place my self-interest to the
Mhm.
side and focus on discovering what this person needs, wants, desires, how I can help them,
Mhm.
right? And so
Yeah.
now there's another element too, and that is yes, while we all certainly have the selfish gene within us, we also, as human beings, want to be part of something bigger than
Yes.
ourselves. And we want to add value to the lives of others. Now, as entrepreneurs, salespeople, investors, so forth, we tend to do that through our work. Now, that doesn't
Mhm.
mean we can't be involved in other things, charities and mentoring and also volunteer,
Yeah.
all sorts of things. I'm not saying that, but most of our day is at work,
Yeah.
right? So we tend to make our contributions to life through the work we do,
Mhm.
and I think most people want to do. Not everybody, of course, but most people do. So what I think the book did is it kind of said to people, you can be successful not in spite of helping
Mhm.
others, but because you're helping others.
Yes.
And since that ties into people's natural desire. And yet, what are they told through, whether it's upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies? What are they told? That to be successful in business, you've got to be a horrible, terrible, money hungry, right? So it
Yeah.
kind of gave them permission to be themselves and do what they wanted, what they really had a desire to do.
Yeah. No, and you talk about it in the workplace and him serving coffee and all that and finding just that little way to serve. And I don't remember the character's name, but he gives the girl her half and half just the way she wants it, and that was him.
Joe,
yeah, that was
Melanie. Yeah.
That was him paying attention, and
right.
It blew her away.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly. Great point. And, one of what John and I call elements of value in our follow-up book, Go Givers Sell More, we talk about, even within the law of value, there are 5 elements of value, right? That kind of combine to provide a great customer-client experience. And sometimes, by the way, your customers or clients are your coworkers or your employees or your, right? And so one of them is, so the 5 are excellence, consistency, attention, empathy, and appreciation. Well, one of them is attention, and it's attention to that other person as a human being, not as a means to an end.
Sure.
For what you want to get, you know what I'm saying? And so, so when we pay attention and we ask ourselves, okay, what is it that this person really wants? What is it that's important to them? And then we're able to bring that back in with some attention to detail. It's very appreciated.
Yeah. Well, and in the application, I mean, we're talking about workplace, but apply that to your home and you're going to have a much better marriage. Paying attention to your spouse and those little things. A lot of times we just pick on the things that annoy us, right?
Yeah. So, well, John and Anna, they wrote a book, John and I wrote 4 books in the Go Giver series. 3 of them are parables. 3 of them are parables, and one is more of a how-to application guide. So after that, about 2, maybe 3 years ago, John and Anna wrote a separate book called The Go Giver Marriage.
Oh.
And one of the things and it was half parable, half how-to, because that's Anna's forte.
Okay.
The marriage and family and so forth, and they have a wonderful marriage. Again, I remember when they were fiancés before and I remember going to their wedding, and boy, they're just such a wonderful couple. But they so they wrote half parable, half how-to, and one of the things they talked about is just exactly what you talked about. Noticing those things that are special in that other person, right, and making that the focus. Yeah, it was really a terrific book.
Well, and how much better are we going to be as workers if we have a good, strong marriage and a good home life?
Oh gosh, it's everything. My parents just had a wonderful marriage, as did John's. They'd been married, I think, 65 years maybe when we lost my dad, and they just it was just such a wonderful partnership. And I know it gave my dad strength, as he was kind of the guy out there in the marketplace, not the marketplace, out there in the public eye a lot. And Mom was kind of more behind the scenes. But he always not only felt the strength, of their amazing marriage, always credited her and always made sure everybody knew she was the reason, why he was successful coming from where he did, which was from nowhere. And so absolutely. You see so many people who are very, very successful in business who have great marriages, great home lives, and success leaves clues, or as a friend of mine says, success leaves billboards.
Yeah, well, and it makes sense because instead of things being tit for tat, right? As a go-giver, we're not worried about that. We're not keeping track, and if we're not keeping track in the home, then it's probably going to apply over to business. We're going to be that self-serving, not self-serving. We're going to be the self-sacrificing leader, salesperson who's not only serves our wives or our spouse, but also our kids, but also our clients. If you want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store. It's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com. Mindsetshop.com. even circling back to endless referrals, like in that book, you're talking about getting to know the client and letting them talk and all that. And that's the same thing. It's not about
Oh, sure.
how much I get to talk.
Right. Exactly. It's asking them questions about themselves, and really
And
just
listening.
makes in listening, and that's so important. And I call these feel good questions because if you ask them correctly, they simply make this person feel good about themselves, about the
Yes.
conversation, and about you. So when you first meet someone, instead of giving them your elevator speech and telling them all about your business, as I'm talking about at a public event or at a network where
Yeah.
for most people they have their 1 minute elevator, which the other person doesn't care about. Right? They care about themselves and their business. So instead, if you just ask that person feel good questions such as how did you get started in the so and so business, right? And
Hmm.
people love telling their story. Why? Because nobody asked them. Right? You meet Gary who sells copying machines, and you say, Gary, how did you get started as an office products
Yeah.
professional? And he's delighted because nobody asked Gary Gary's own family has never asked Gary how he got started, right? And here's you who he just met, who is asking him to share his story. And then you might follow up with, what do you enjoy most about your work?
Hmm.
And he again, it's a feel good question. It elicits feel good response. Now, after asking a couple of these questions and you feel a rapport has started to become established, I suggest asking what I call the one key question that will separate you, that will distinguish you from the rest. And it goes something like, uh, Gary, how can I know if somebody I'm speaking with would be a good client for you?
Mm.
And a good way to lead into to frame that is to say, Gary, I always love connecting good people with other good people. How can I know if someone I'm speaking with is a good prospective client,
Mm.
or customer, whatever, for you? So it's taking the focus off ourselves,
Hmm.
not in a self-sacrificial. We're not hurting ourselves, but we
Sure.
are building everyone in the process, and we're making this person feel genuinely and authentically good about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that circles back to the law of influence, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's yes, we're trying to have influence, but it's not about us. It's about them. And it's about how we can, you know, put their interests first.
Yeah. I mean, the law of influence, which in the Go Giver says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. No,
Hmm.
not in a doormatty way, not in a martyrish way,
Yeah.
not in again, a self-sacrificial way. It's simply understanding, as you and I were talking about before, when we say that all things being equal, people will do business with, refer
Hmm.
business to those people they know, like, and trust. Well, here's the thing. There's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward us from others than by genuinely and authentically
Hmm.
moving from that I focus or me focus to that
Hmm.
other focus. Making your Sam, one of the mentors in the story, advised
Yeah.
Joe, make your win all about the other person's win.
Mm.
And you do that, and you do that consistently, you're going to be developing yourself what we call an army of personal walking ambassadors.
Yeah. Don't you think that's easy today too with social media? Like it's
I think
so
so.
easy to, yeah, so easy to do a selfie with somebody and then hashtag
So
them. Or,
so much easier. Yeah.
yeah. Talk to me, Bob, a little bit about uh, probably 2 weeks ago. I was en route to do. We host a real estate meetup, and I'm heading there, and in my head, I'm thinking like, you know what? I'm going to pour myself out. I'm trying to give back, and I'm going to have grumpy people who are demanding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, I got a 30-minute drive. What do I need to do? So I put in your book,
Huh.
and it totally just switched my mind. Like, you know what? This is all about service.
Thank you.
But talk to me or us a little bit about how do we continually give, and even when we don't feel like it's coming back, because in the book we have that, and he's trying to do all the steps, but he doesn't know how it's going to work out. So
No, you don't know. We never know. The Stoics used to, their biggest, I guess, element of their philosophy is to control what is in your sphere to control. Control what you can control and totally lose attachment to the rest of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what can you control? Well, you can control the relationships you create. You can control your ability to focus on that other person.
Mm.
You can control connecting people with one another. You can control continually building that friendship relationship. You can control asking for the appointment. You can control asking for the order. You can control asking for referrals. You can control a whole lot of things. What
Yeah.
you cannot control is the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where someone says, well, doesn't it take a lot of faith to think that when you constantly give value to others that it's going to come back to you? No. It takes more faith to think that you can be totally selfish and all about yourself
Mm.
and think that good things are going to come to you. Because remember, people aren't doing business with you for your reasons. They're doing it for their reasons. You know what I'm saying?
So that's what we get wrong, is we think it's about us.
Well, yeah. I mean, it comes right down to
We
it.
think we're special.
Well, yeah, and again, it's very human. For example, I write a lot of sales letters with what I do with my list. I have a daily impact email, and so aside from the articles, about once a week, I write a sales letter. Okay.
Okay.
I can't tell you how often I write that sales letter, thinking it's really good. And then Kathy, who's my de facto business partner, and I've worked with for a long time, she and I will go through it, all of it. It's amazing how often we see how many times I say I or me or I want or I'm looking to, you know what I'm saying? And so then we go through everything and we change the language and we make it about right. But so again, it's very natural. So it's something we always have to think about to make sure that we make it not about us. Because people aren't thinking about us like we're thinking about us.
Yeah. That's incredible, because I would think that you would be the professional at Go Giving, but it's obviously something that we continue to have to hone in on giving back, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know about. I don't call it giving back because, and the reason why, Marty, is
Sure.
because I haven't taken anything from anyone.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
give
that's fair.
back, you've taken from
Yeah.
and so and that's why it's so funny because over the last, I think, 25 years, that saying has been very much a part of the vocabulary, I think, to everybody about giving back. And you think about it, it's really kind of based on a false premise. It sounds like it's about generosity, and it sounds like it's about whatever it sounds like. It sounds like it's coming from a place of abundance, but that's coming from a place of lack, because it's the way it's meant is, yeah, you made a lot of money by taking things from others, now you're going to be a good person, at least, or assuage your guilty conscience and give some of it back.
Oh,
And
sure.
I respectfully reject that premise. If you're doing it right, you're actually giving first, right? Your focus is on value to others. People, if you've made a lot of money, it's because people have willingly exchanged their money for the value you provide: product, service, client experience, whatever it happens to be. You've made a lot. Now, should you choose to donate some of it? Well, first of all, great. It's called charity. It's called doing good things, and we highly recommend it. But we don't say it's giving back.
No, I like that.
Yeah, we say it's doing good things. It's giving charity. It's giving mentorship. It's giving time. It's giving all those wonderful, wonderful things. So yeah, I mean, I think it's you find ways to provide value to the marketplace, and when you do, you're going to have a lot that comes to you. It takes no faith to realize that, because I got to realize that's how it works.
Yeah.
Now, what happens though, sometimes people say, well, but I've been giving and I've been giving and I've been doing all these things, and and I'm not getting some, and I'll tell you 99% of the time, and I can ask questions of this person and find out they're giving what they believe is of value.
Yes.
Not what the other person believes is of value.
Yes.
value can be defined as the relative worth, or desirability of a thing, of something,
Mm-hmm.
to the end user or beholder. Right? What is this thing? What is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that's of such worth that someone
Mm-hmm.
will, let's say, exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you make a very healthy profit. But here's the thing, again, it's relative, which means value is always in the eyes of the beholder. Right? So it's not what we think is valuable about our product or service.
Sure.
It's not what we think they should think. It's what they think. So we've got to be able to discover this. We ask
Mm-hmm.
questions, we do research, and we make it, as you've said, about them. And to the
Mm-hmm.
degree we do that, we know. Now that doesn't mean everybody's going to do business with you. Business is business.
Sure.
Sales is sales. That's not how it works. But what it is it's planting enough seeds
Mm-hmm.
of goodwill, of great will,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you're creating what John and I call this benevolent context for your success.
And that's good, because if you go to the marketplace with something you value, I mean, you could see it like on Shark Tank, right? Person thinks they've got a great product, but the sharks right away are like, no one's going to buy that.
Right.
There's no value in it to people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. And that's good for me to remember that, it's about what value, and honestly, going back to the endless referral, just getting to know the person and what they deem valuable.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're going to build the most momentum for building that business or whatever, the sales, whatever.
Sure.
Over the years, I have been coached by countless mentors, and now I want to offer that to you as well. How? By Marty Hofmann's Life Coaching. This will be a 6-week program in which I will guarantee you will develop a more growth mindset. We will set goals and learn about the importance of the processes and habits behind those goals. I will also help you see your story differently as things happening for you, not to you. We will also be discussing your future self and give you clarity on who that is and what it looks like. For more information, please follow the link below or hop on martyhoffman.com and follow the coaching link. I think that's probably what a lot of people fail at most in business, right? Is they think that people are going to value what they value.
Oh, sure. And again, human nature, right? Mm-hmm. We live our lives from a set of beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Again, upbringing, environment, school, all these things, all our personal experiences, okay? That's our belief system. That's how we see the world. What is a belief? Well, a belief is a subjective truth. In other words, it's our truth, not the truth.
Yes.
Right. Now, sometimes our truth is also the truth, but it often isn't. Okay. Now, another part of that is, as human beings, we tend to believe that our belief system, our basic belief system, is everybody else's. Mm-hmm. How could it be anything else? It's how we see the world. That's why we have such trouble understanding people who don't agree with us on many things. How could they not think that? It's so obvious. Well, that's because it's our belief system, right? And so that's really what happens. And so if we're stuck in this thing where, oh yeah, well, this is what I believe, so this is what they believe, then what we're doing is we're taking a chance that this person's belief system is somewhat similar to ours, and we're going to sell that way. Basically, we're selling to people who are kind of like us, and that's not a great percentage. Right? Sometimes it will happen, but you don't want to make a career out of thinking that. So no, we've got to always discover that other person's set of beliefs, and again, it comes down to what they need, what they want, what they desire, and we've got to approach it from there.
It's interesting. A week ago, I was having coffee with another entrepreneur, and he's trying to give all his employees a bonus, and trying to figure out how to do it. And it's all money. And I had this conversation with him. I said, Mark, like, you realize that people work for you for different reasons. Like, some want more freedom of time, some want security. And so I actually gave him that survey from 1 Minute Manager on people figuring out why they're there for it. It's the
Yeah,
same thing
there's
though.
been no, you're right, and there's been so many studies, books, what have you, that talk about that. That once a person's financial needs are met, in terms of they're fine with the pay package
Hmm.
from their then after that they're really not working for the money.
Yeah.
Right, they're working for their feeling,
Hmm.
for their pursuit of happiness in a sense. So
Yeah.
for some people, it is autonomy, having a feeling of being free to make your choices, to learn, to grow on the job. It's the relationships of the job. Others, they have such a belief in the product or service that when
Yeah.
they sell it, that they really feel like they're making a difference. There's so many, as you said.
Respect,
Some
security.
it's respect,
Yeah.
secure, all those things. And so it's really the leader's job
Hmm.
to discover what their clients, and their clients are their employees, their team
Yeah.
members, to discover what moves them, what motivates them.
Yeah. That's good. So the law of value, you're tied to the value you
Yeah.
give back.
Yeah.
Um, Bob, I could talk to you all day, I think, but I know we need to wrap this up. What is you got a pile of books behind you. What is a book recommendation you would give to our audience?
So, it's a tough question to answer because it sort of
Yes.
depends what the topic itself is. But I would say this, for the last year and a half, I've been reading and rereading and studying one particular
Mm,
book that has made a huge difference in my life. To me, it's the most important personal development book ever written, and I recommend it highly. It's called Living Untethered
okay.
by Michael A. Singer. Now, he has a couple of other books out that people are more familiar with, which have sold, massively. And they're both great books. The Untethered Soul is one of them. The
Hmm.
Surrender Experiment is both great books. And I enjoyed them and found them very helpful. But this one, Living Untethered, totally knocks it out of the park.
Mm,
And I would say, and you don't have to have read the other two.
sure.
He has gone above and beyond in what he's taught, and I would say anyone who makes a study like I have of living untethered is probably going to be very glad they did that.
Mm,
Yeah.
I'll check it out. Um, Final message, Bob. If this is your final question, if this is your final message, what do you want the world to know? I mean, you've got these great books. You're in the sales. What does Bob Burg want the world to know?
Um. I mean, I think by nature I'm an encourager,
Hmm.
and really I want to. And my dad was so great at this, and I think it's really carrying on his legacy, and that is making other people feel genuinely good about themselves.
Mm,
And when we can really focus on that, first of all, it's a very fulfilling way of living life. But it also is very helpful in the success process. But putting even the success part aside, the feeling you get by helping other people
hmm.
feel good about themselves is
Hmm.
really something that cannot be, you know,
It's yeah, the dopamine hit from that's way better than making a little extra money or whatever.
I mean, they're both great, both important, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, all things being equal, when you can, it's very, and it's not that it can't happen, but it's very difficult to make a lot of money by focusing on the money. Because again, when you're doing that,
Yes.
you're focusing on yourself, and people aren't buying from you
Yeah.
for your right. It's a lot easier to make a lot of money when your focus is on bringing immense value to others, to the
Hmm.
marketplace, and part of that is making people feel good about themselves.
Hmm.
You know, but just doing it just because it's a good thing to do is
Yeah.
a great feeling in and of itself.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Bob, for your time. Hi, hey, how do people follow, find, and all that good stuff? You.
Yeah, best way is to go to burg.com. They can read chapters of any of the books, and they can subscribe to my daily impact email that I send Monday through Friday.
Sounds good. Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways in which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.